In this video, we're going to be talking about the diagram question. One of my favorite questions because this question is quite easy to identify. As you can see, it says up here, label the diagram below. And this question pretty much works like a fill in the blank question. And it's not a very difficult question. As you can see, it's at a medium level of difficulty. And these questions go mostly in order. So that means that 80 to 90% of the times, these questions are going to be in order. Now let me give you a bit of explanation about this question type. It's mostly in order, so you already know that now. And since this question is mostly in order, we're going to assume that it goes in order. As mentioned before, this is not a difficult question type, so feel free to do this at any point. I would probably start off with the easy questions first, then move on to something like this, and then finally I would move on to the difficult questions at the end. Now, one thing to note about this question type is if you get a question set in which two questions appear right next to each other, then their order may be reversed. So we saw the same thing happen with table questions. So I talked about how in a table question, if there are two questions right next to each other, then the order may be reversed. So the same thing is true for the diagram question as well. And just to clarify that point a little bit more, what I mean is that these questions are pretty much going to go in order almost all of the times, most of the times. So you can expect to find the answer to question number 3 after the answer to question number 2. Right? So the answer to question number 1 comes first, then comes the answer to number 2, and finally the answer to number 3. But what can happen is that if you get two questions that are right next to each other, then it's possible that the order is reversed. So for example, the answer to number 3 might come right before the answer to number 2. So that is what I mean. Next point to note is that generally speaking, diagram questions that appear in passage 1 are very likely to go in order. Very likely to go in order almost all the time. But when it comes to passage 3, you must know that the level of difficulty increases as you move from one passage to the next. So naturally, passage 3 is supposed to be much more difficult than passage number 1. So if you find a diagram question in passage 3, and I should point out that not just a diagram question, but when you see a question that is mostly in order, if you see a question like this, then in passage 1, it's very likely to go in order almost all the time. But if the same question appears in passage 3, then you can expect that the question is probably not going to be in order. Not in all the questions, but in some questions, you can expect the order to be switched up a little bit. Now, with diagram questions, oftentimes you're going to receive a title. There's going to be a title right above the diagram. This doesn't always happen, but oftentimes it happens. So if this happens, if you end up getting the title, then this can be useful information for you to locate the matching paragraph and to locate the matching sentence as well. So we're going to see an example of that very soon. So I'll talk more about that in just a bit. Now, these questions are similar to fill in the blank questions. You already know that. I mean, you have a diagram, but the structure of the question is still the same. You have the question and there's a blank line that you have to figure out the answer for. And like always, this question is also formed from only 1 to 2 sentences in the reading passage. And the last thing for you to know is that this is an English test. So you might get a diagram that describes a certain process, or maybe it seems to be talking about some very technical stuff. But regardless of that, keep in mind that it doesn't matter what the diagram is about. You do not need to have any background knowledge on any subject other than English. So this is an English test, and it doesn't matter what the diagram is about, as long as you can understand the English language, as long as you can look for the keywords and the synonym language, it's going to be pretty easy for you to answer the questions because all the answers are going to be in English in the reading passage. Now let's go over the basic strategy. Now you've seen this basic strategy several times by now, so we don't have to go into a lot of detail. But I show you this here just to highlight the fact that for the diagram question, you're going to be using this same strategy that you've used before. For example, when you did the fill in the blank questions. So we're doing exactly the same thing. We are marking the keywords. Here, take note that you might find some useful keywords in the title of the question set. Next, you need to identify what are the easy questions. Put a check mark next to that. Look for those keywords in the reading passage along with the synonyms. Find the connecting words. It's important to pay attention to connecting words whenever you have questions like the fill in the blank, because the words that are around the blank, the words that come before the blank line and the words that come after the blank line, those words are going to tell you what is the correct answer that is going to fit into that blank line. Finally, once you've answered the question, just put a number next to the matching sentence so you know where you found the answer to each question. Now, I'd like to show you some examples, and for this example, I'd like to show you this question set. Now here, I've only selected 3 questions. There were more questions associated with this diagram, but here, just to show you how it works, I've chosen to talk about these 3 questions. So we're going to start off by first looking at the diagram and reading what the diagram is about. This title is helpful. So it says, how a boat is lifted on the Falkirk wheel. Alright, so that's some kind of a technical description. We don't need to know what that is. The article will tell us that. The next thing to keep in mind is pay attention to this direction up here. It tells you that you can only choose one word. So that's very important because if you don't follow this simple direction, then it tells the examiner that you don't understand English. Because it's asking you to put an answer that is one word. And if you put an answer that is 2 words, well, you're going to get it marked wrong. So always pay attention to these directions. Next thing, let's go ahead and mark some keywords, some useful keywords from the title. So right here we have keywords lifted and Falkirk wheel. We could also mark boat, but actually I know that this entire article is going to be talking about the Falkirk wheel and is going to be talking about the boat. So I'm not sure how useful these keywords will be, but still, I've marked them anyways just in case. The keywords in the title may be useful. Not always. Okay, they can be just repetitive, useless keywords. That's also possible. But sometimes they can be helpful to identify the paragraph. Because usually, all of these questions are going to be taken from 1 or maybe 2 paragraphs most of the times, because within that 1 or 2 paragraphs is going to describe how this machine functions, or whatever other diagram they have is going to describe that to you within 1 or 2 paragraphs. So these keywords can be helpful, but be careful because you don't want to go around hunting for repetitive keywords. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start marking the keywords in each one of these questions. So keep that in mind. Diagrams are useful because they can help you to identify the correct matching paragraph for 2 reasons. 1, because they can have titles that can help you to locate that paragraph. Also, you might just look at the diagram and oftentimes the diagram itself can reveal enough information to tell you which paragraph is going to contain the answers for the diagram that you have. Now let's move on. Let's start to mark some of our keywords in the question. So we're going to start off with number 20. Here we have keywords like taken out and wheel, and also rotate. Now, wheel, I've marked that here, but actually I'm not sure how useful this keyword is going to be because this entire article happens to be about the Falkirk wheel. So I'm expecting to see that word repeat throughout the article. So I'm not sure how useful it's going to be, but I've went ahead and marked it anyway. but you can also just leave it out. Now here we have much better keywords. Here we have the number 11 meters, and here we have a proper noun, Union Canal. I've also marked these other keywords like raise and level. Those can be helpful, but I'm not going to be looking for these ones as much as I'm going to be looking for these ones, the number and the proper noun. Finally, for question number 22, we have the keywords pair, lifted, shutout, water, and canal basin. So the best keywords, just to refresh your memory, are going to be numbers and proper nouns, but keywords can also include other types of nouns. It can include verbs and adjectives as well. So it's still good to be on the lookout for these other keywords, but of course, we're going to start off by answering the easy questions first. Now, which question do you think is going to be the easiest one for us to answer? Naturally, it's going to be number 21, because these here are very easy keywords. So we're going to start off by first answering question number 21. Let's put a check mark next to that. Now, the next thing that I want you to pay attention to are the connecting words. They're very important, and the connecting words are right here. They're boxed in the red color. Okay, those are all connecting words. Those are words that appear before and after the blank line. They're going to tell us which piece of the puzzle is going to be the right fit for each one of these questions. Now, let's go ahead and start to answer this question set. I want to start off by answering number 21. So here we go. So once you have located the matching paragraph, at this point, you would start to scan the reading passage for these keywords. Then, once you have located the matching paragraph for this diagram, then you can start to look for keywords for each one of these questions. Once you have located the keyword for a certain question, at that point, what you need to do is you need to check in, read the question, and make sure that the answer that you have chosen for this blank line fits perfectly like a jigsaw puzzle into this sentence. So keep that in mind. Connecting words are just as important as keywords. Now let's go ahead and start to answer these questions. We're going to start off by answering number 21 first, and then we'll come back to these other questions. Here we go. Here is question number 21. Dash raise boat 11 meters to level of Union Canal. Well, it tells us that something is going to raise the boat. That something has to be a noun. So we would come to our reading passage at this point, and once we have located, hopefully we have located the matching paragraph by this point. Now, sometimes you may not have been able to successfully locate the matching paragraph. If that's the case, that's fine. Just try to look for the best keywords from your question in that case. So right here, I'm scanning my reading passage and I see the word 11 meters. So there's one of our keywords. And reading on, I see it mentions lift. So lift is a synonym for raise. Right here it says Union Canal. So I found my proper noun there. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to find my answer somewhere around here. So here are my main keywords. Right here, I'm pretty sure is where I'm going to have my matching sentence. This is where I'm going to find the answer. Right here, as mentioned before, lift needed is synonym language for raise the boat. Synonym language. Over here, we have another use of synonym language. It says to reach. That is synonym language for level. To level is synonym language for to reach. So let's go ahead and read this sentence from our passage. It says, the remaining 11 meters of lift needed to reach the Union Canal is achieved by means of a pair of locks. So what raises the boat 11 meters? What? What does that? Well, it tells you right here. It's achieved by means of a pair of locks. A pair of locks do that. So the correct answer here is pair of locks. Pair of locks. But be very careful, because in the directions it says that we can only choose an answer that has one word. So the answer can only have one word, so I'm not going to put pair of locks, rather, I'm just going to put locks. So that's going to be our answer. I'm going to fill it into my answer sheet, and once I'm done answering the question, I'm going to put the question number next to that matching sentence. So I found the answer to number 21 right here. So now I know that the answer to question number 20, my next question, is going to come before that line where I found the answer to number 21 is going to come before that. So this question says, a pair of dash are lifted in order to shut out water from canal basin. A pair of, again, we have something, some sort of a noun. A pair of something are lifted in order to shut out water. So let's find out what that something is. We're going to come to our reading passage, and at this point I would locate actually where I found the answer to question number 21, and then I would start looking for the answer to number 20 right before that. That's what I would do. So right here we're going to start scanning for these keywords. Let's see if we can find something. Right here I see lifted, mentions that over here, so there's one of our keywords. Here I have canal basin right there. It mentions, let's see what else. Well, it mentions two of something, two hydraulic steel gates. That is synonym language for pair. That is synonym language, two. Right here it says raised. That is also synonym language for lifted. So it mentions lifted here. It also mentions it here. And then it says so as to seal the gondola off. So to seal off is the same thing as to say to shut out. That is synonym language as well. Here it mentions water. We got water right here. And then it mentions canal basin here once again. So those are our keywords. I feel that our answer is definitely going to be somewhere around here. Let's go ahead and mark these keywords. So water and canal basin, those are the two main keywords that I'm looking for. Also, I want to mark this word here because this is synonym language for pair. That is synonym language. I also want to mark other words that are synonym language. For example, raised is synonym language for lifted. And to seal or to seal off is synonym language for to shut out. So this right here is going to be our matching sentence. This is where we're going to find our answer, most likely. So let's go ahead and read this sentence now. It says, two hydraulic steel gates are raised so as to seal the gondola off from the water in the canal basin. So a pair of what are lifted? What are lifted? It's got to be a noun. Well, the answer is a pair of hydraulic steel gates. Hydraulic steel gates. That's the answer. But then again, we can only write one word for our answer. So if we can only choose one word, the answer is going to be gates. Gates is the answer. We're going to fill that into our answer sheet, and then we're going to put the number of the question next to the matching sentence. Great. So we're now done with this one as well. Let's knock out our final question, number 22. The question says, a dash is taken out, enabling wheel to rotate. So again, this is going to be a noun because a something is taken out. So it has to be a thing, it has to be a noun. So let's come to our reading passage and we're going to start to scan for these keywords. Here we go. All right, I see that it mentions pumped out. That is synonym language for taken out. To take out, to pump out, to remove. Those are synonym words. Let's see what else. All right, here it says to turn. That is synonym language for rotate. To turn. Here it mentions rotate again. Here it mentions it again, rotate twice. And yeah, I think that's it. I also see wheel. The word wheel appears a couple times. So that's that right there. So let's go ahead and mark these keywords now. Wheel, pumped out, moving, could be related to rotating. That could be synonym language. Here it mentions rotate. Here we have the synonym language to turn. Here we have removed. Removed is also synonym language for taken out. So pumped out, removed, taken out. they're talking about the same thing. And the next synonym word here is allowing. Allowing is synonym language for enabling. To enable is to allow. And finally, we have the word to turn. That is synonym language for rotate. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to find my answer somewhere around here. That is going to be my matching sentence. So let's go ahead and read the sentence now. It says, a hydraulic clamp which prevents the arms of the wheel moving while the gondola is docked is removed, allowing the wheel to turn. So something is taken out which allows the wheel to turn, to rotate. What is taken out? What is taken out? Mentions that right here. A hydraulic clamp. That is what is taken out. So the correct answer is going to be clamp. This is a one-word answer, so not hydraulic clamp, but rather clamp. Only clamp. So we're going to fill that into our answer sheet, going to put the number next to the matching sentence, and we are all done. I hope that you can now see how to answer this type of question. I hope that you also see that there is a lot of stuff that is similar. The strategy is very similar to other variations of the fill-in-the-blank questions. So in the next two videos, I want to take you through some practice questions, and I want to show you how to do the diagram questions in a little bit more detail.